Hey, Status D, please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon, click on subscribe. It's 100% free. Blood in, blood out. And also don't forget the notifications just so you don't miss out on any amazing content. This is a very kind of interesting subject and on women being taught to be wives, basically. And I think the energy of this particular channel is that, well, why would we do that? Well, why would we do it? Anyway, I haven't actually seen this video, so let's see what they've got to say.
Teaching their daughters to be wives?
No. Guess what we're teaching them?
Exactly what characteristics of a wife should we be teaching to young girls? If it's centering a man and teaching them that they must subject themselves to the will of a man, then no, I didn't teach my daughter that. I raised a strong, educated, cultured, intelligent, independent thinker and leader. I raised a Black woman. I taught her the foundations of a healthy relationship. I taught her how to love with an open heart, with grace, compassion, and mutual respect.
Yeah, I think I already know. I think I have seen this video, actually, this section of video. I thought I hadn't, but I had. When somebody just gives you a long list of assertions, it's like, you know, when you're in a job interview and they ask you to, when you've done something, and you just say, well, I would do this, and I would do this, and I would do that, and that. And really what they're looking for is some kind of concrete examples of you actually doing it, so they can say, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. No, well, I do this, and I always think things through, and I always kind of consider it of others. And well, in what ways are you considerate of others? In what ways have you thought things through on a problem task? Which was just basically saying, oh, yeah, I have a kind of... Let's see what she says again, but something like, I taught my daughter to be educated. I taught my daughter to have positive relationships. What does that actually mean to you, though? And in what ways, what's your definition of that? Give it a bit more substance.
Relationship. I taught her how to love with an open heart, with grace, compassion, and mutual respect. I taught her how to be an effective communicator and how to listen. I taught my daughter how to be a good partner. I didn't teach her how to be a good wife to a husband.
Dear women, here's what your mother...
Yeah, that's just a list of words. That's just a list of... In fact, I'm not going to go too further. I'm not going to go too much further on that. There's nothing to say. It's just a list of words. Let's go forward.
Grandmother and your female friends never told you. Committing to a man is like putting all your eggs in one basket. If you wouldn't deal with investments, why would you deal with a man? Committing to a career is a better investment than committing to any man. Your career is always going to be your own. A man can change his mind anytime. Stop romanticizing having children.
Before we get to the children bit, yeah, of course. Listen, you need to be... I think women have got it particularly hard. I think there's a transition of women not having to work and study, there being no expectations and possibly being held back in the modern mindset, to women only prioritising or perhaps over prioritising work and then kind of not leaving enough time to focus on relationships when they're in their youth or when they're in the kind of dating period when men are going to be more interested in them, and then being kind of left on the wayside, you know what I mean? And I think there is some kind of... And I think I think it's slightly problematic in the current discourse where women are not warned about that kind of cliff and the wall, like almost like it doesn't exist where it does. It does, and the whole kind of body clock thing. Let's go back because I don't want to miss it. And I say she does roll off a few points, but of course, listen, you need to be able to be self-sufficient. You're not waiting for some kind of superhero man just to swoop in and pay all your bills, you know what I mean? But anyway, let's see what she says.
If you wouldn't deal with investments, why would you deal with a man? Committing to a career is a better investment than committing to any man. Your career is always going to be your own. A man can change his mind anytime. Stop romanticizing having children. Having a ripped up vagina while you give birth is...
Again, this is that kind of whole... I don't want to put her in a box. I was going to use the F word that ends in T. I was going to use like this kind of misperception that, well, what do you want kids anyway? You know what I mean? So we're sending you down this road where, just focus on your career. Don't worry about the men. The men are all toxic anyway. Put it over the back, put it in back burner. Yeah, I can go out with my friends. I can do this. We can have these girly nights and girly holidays. Then one by one, they get into relationships and they have kids. And then all of a sudden, it's just you on your own. and then you kind of say you're of an age where men don't really want you anymore, even if you wanted them, even though over that period you haven't built up these social skills about how to interact with the opposite sex at all. So you're in your kind of like a bubble, and as I say, lacking those skills, and also too old to be of interest to most men, and the way that men are geared. I'm not saying every man in every situation, but that's the game that they play. And I think what this lady is saying, well, just don't worry about it. That's the way I have an issue with it. I think that the honesty should be that, listen, you have your prime years as a woman up to more or less kind of, I'd say, not, up to your body clock age. And that's getting pushed back anyway, so that's the good news, you know what I mean? And it's kind of medical kind of techniques in order to extend it. But that's never the conversation. And there are kind of risks and complications as the older that women get, so which is another thing which will be part of an honest dialogue. But yeah, focus on your prime years, focus on your career, but also do not neglect relationships, because the body clock is real and time may well run out. That's the honest conversation.
The easiest part of parenting, the hardest part of parenting, is teaching them how to respect you as a person when all of society trains them to see you as a convenience tool. Not only that, having children makes you the most vulnerable, more vulnerable than, say, a single woman who is currently homeless, because she has options and your options are limited. Every choice you make must be done.
I don't think this woman wants to be in a relationship. I don't think she wants a man, and I don't think she wants kids. Message received.
Through the lens of the wellness of the child. Not to mention, society will not treat you kindly when you make decisions that patriarchy does not agree with. Now that I've told you, don't ever say no one ever told you. Choose your battles in life.
Guess what we're teaching them to be?
So, I have a question.
I have a question. Literally, I promise you, my first viewing of this bit. I have a question. Where have you got a goatee? Anyway, let's go.
I got two daughters. Two of them. Why should we be teaching our daughters how to be wives? What is in it for them? How is...
Listen, some may well potentially have a biased point of view. I'm thinking this person right here has got a very unique point of view on men and heterosexual relationships. I don't know why, but that's my first guess.
Marriage going to benefit my daughters? Because in 2024, it doesn't. All the demographics, all the statistics declare that marriage does not benefit my daughters. So why on earth would I teach them to do something that's going to be bad for them?
All the statistics say that marriage doesn't benefit daughters. I wonder what statistics that is then. Is she talking about the fact that, and I haven't independently researched this, but there's plenty of channels which all seem to say that most women file for divorce. Is that the reason why, or something like that? I'm not sure. She hasn't qualified it again, just an assertion without no foundation. But let's think this through. So most of the time, men marry younger ladies. I think which makes it more likely that the men will be more established and basically have more assets. Not all the time, but traditionally, in terms of the examples that come to mind, and I'm not talking about everybody. So on divorce, that woman stands to inherit or take on a portion of that man's wealth that she never earned. I wonder what way that a man, in what way does a woman not benefit from marriage? And then there's tax breaks and things like that, and I say usually a man will be the breadwinner and the provider, the husband, most of the time. And it can't happen. I'm not saying it never happens in reverse, but it's going to be rarely happening in reverse, because I think that the true facts are, and I've discussed this with my partner, and Kevin Samuels also says it, I'm not sure a woman can respect a man that she has to provide for. Is he, you know what I mean? Why would a woman be paying for everything that a man has to do? It just wouldn't happen. Let's go back a little bit. Let's play.
All the demographics, all the statistics declare that marriage does not benefit my daughters. So why on earth would I teach them to do something that's going to be bad for them? That's going to make them die earlier. That's going to make their lives way more stressful. Why would I do that?
That's going to make them die earlier? I think, listen, again, I don't want to make sense of the nonsense. But I ain't going to say it. I think we know I don't know if you do know. I think we know where she's going with making them die earlier. I think she's talking about DV or DA. It's got different definitions. We're talking about as a percentage of population, a tiny percent, and of course, some men also will fall victim to DA. You know what I mean, or DV, as a whatever definition you want to fit. So I guess so. It's pointless talking about it too much because the minority does not express the majority. You know what I mean, especially if it's an extreme minority, and I think it's just a negative kind of block hole or some kind of negative kind of purpose trap which doesn't move the conversation forwards. We're just talking about the niche. The victims of we're going down this rabbit hole again. I know what you're doing.
Explain. Explain.
Yeah, a lot of men do make it seem like when a woman gets married, she's automatically happy. But it makes sense because a lot of men think that because they are happy in the marriage, because everything is going okay for them, because they do not have to worry about cheating, they don't have to worry about what to eat, they don't have to worry about how the household is run and somebody else does it. They think, oh, everything is okay.
Because they don't have to worry. But why would a man not have to worry about cheating or what's going on in the house? Why is that? What? Because she's a woman?
Don't have to worry about what to eat. They don't have to worry about how the household is run and somebody else does it. They think, oh, everything is okay. And that also explains why a lot of men are like, oh, everything was okay. And she just came out of nowhere and asked for divorce. Okay? Because they have this whole mindset that when a woman is with a man, then that's it. It's done. Every woman wants to get married. And so when they are married, that's it. You don't have to do anything anymore. The destination is to get a ring on her finger. And when you do put a ring on her finger, she's going to automatically be there doing everything that you expect of her or require of her. But that's not always the case. Marriage is not very simple. It's not easy. It's very complicated. It takes a lot of work. But most guys are not taught that. Because like I said before, it's easier for a woman to go into that role when she's happy, when she's being loved, when she's being appreciated, when she's being respected. It's so easy. To humble themselves for a man is easy. But who does it benefit? It benefits you. And in this day and age where women...
I was just waiting because he's making these as kind of assumptions about a man just thinks he knows what's in a woman's mind and what makes her happy, but in truth, she's not necessarily happy and then files for divorce. I think that's the logic of what she was saying. I'm not 100% sure. Then I thought she was going to say, whereas in reality, they're unhappy usually because of this. She didn't actually qualify it about the reason why a woman might actually fall for a divorce. So it's kind of just empty word. I mean, where was that conversation going then? It went nowhere.
Are asked to pull their own weight in relationships, in marriages, okay? Most men are not in the financial position to actually take care of another person, of the women in their lives, but they still do expect the same traditional role of women when it comes to being wives and being married, okay? And that's the problem, because the thing is, you are asking women what they are bringing to the table, how much they are earning at the end of the year, and you want them to pay half of the bill. Then you have to also pick up a mop. You have to be prepared to cook and clean and take care of your kids. Men keep moving the goalposts. In this day and age we live in where there's a lot of...
Yeah, listen, I do agree. Yeah, listen, if it's a 50-50, I think I said this in one of the related videos, maybe this video on this track. If it's literally a 50-50, you're both working, you're both looking after the kids, you both should be doing everything. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Guys who are asking women what they bring to the table financially, expecting women to pay half of the bills, is a bit complicated. You know, it's crazy that you're still saying here, talking about women are not taught to be wives. Because if you were taught to be husband, you're going to be a provider through and through. All right? You're going to be a provider through and through. You weren't also taught to be a husband. That's the problem, okay? So now you're expecting your wife to go to work, come back home, and still be a traditional woman to you, still cook and clean, while you just go to work, come back home, and put your feet up. It's not going to work. And then you complain because someone told you that...
What's she talking about? Honestly, though, yeah, he's gone to work. As again, I said this in a similar recent video. For her, so he goes to work, gets up early, goes to work, comes back on the night. At the same time, okay, initially you're looking after a baby, which becomes a young child, and then he goes on to school. And then he goes, and then he's getting more independence the older that he gets or she gets. They get more and more independent, which means there's less for you to do. Every single day, every single week, every single year, there's less for you to do. So what are you doing? Yeah, so initially, yeah, he's doing all that work full time and you're doing the household stuff. Then over time, what, you know what I mean? His stuff to do still stays there, but your stuff to do just gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower as they get more independent, the kids. So what the hell are you doing with your day? And he does a full day's work and then to come home and make the meal as well? How's about getting your mind around the concept of, and this would never happen, no man wants this. Okay, so say if he looks after the kids, do you really want to go to work the whole day and then have to come back and make a meal? Does that make sense? Don't think so.
All a woman needed was a ring on her finger, but that's not the case. So if you're going to talk about teaching women to be wives, you need to start learning to be husbands. In this modern day, in this day and age we live in, if you want marriage, you need to leave all of that, old school mindset at the door and pick up the new school mindset, okay? Which is you need to pick up a mop, change some diapers, cook and clean. You don't expect your wife to do all of that while she's still paying half of the bills. It's not going to work. I won't teach my daughter to.
100%, yeah. Now, if she's paying half of the bills, 100%. But we're not talking about most situations, are we? We're not talking about the majority of situations. Yeah, again, anything near, the closer you get to 50%, then obviously you should be doing 50%. Yeah, it should be. And if he's not doing it, he was the wrong man. He was the wrong man, okay? But that's not the everyday situation. Say it can't be, because men can't get pregnant and men can't get the maternity leave that women have and all that other stuff. And they don't have to recover from pregnancy, and somebody's got to take the lead on raising a baby, one or the other. And a woman won't respect a man that isn't kind of providing. That's the bottom line. And a man won't expect to be at home doing nothing whilst his woman's at work, you know what I mean? Not any man of any kind of standing. And I say you've got to be selective about the man that you choose. If you've got that type of man, you're going to need to think about the decisions that you made about why you selected that man in the first place. Anyway, I think we kind of exhausted this thing. Let's leave it there. Please like, subscribe. Daddy Steve and I am out.